probably are aware that I'm Dr. Jenny Brown. I have developed the Parent Hope Project resources out of some decades of working in the field of child and adolescent mental health. So today's topic is one that is certainly relevant for these anxious times that we're living in. And I'm going to share the screen and show you a few PowerPoints to present to you parent and school partnerships, what goes into positive, flourishing partnerships between parents and schools. And what I'll try to cover in this brief little webinar are some of the challenges that I'm hearing about in establishing positive partnerships, clear boundaries, clear expectations, good communications, mutually supportive relationships between parents and school personnel. And I'm going to share with you, based on family systems thinking, some principles for building strong parent and school partnerships. I will introduce you to some of the Parent Hope Project school support programs and some of our new resources, and I will open up for some questions at the end. So first of all, the challenges, and I invite you to consider which one of these you can relate to from your school context. You see, I've called this anxious parents and anxious society. And I'm talking about anxious in terms of just generalized stress and intensity. I'm not talking about a clinical presentation of anxiety, but with the amount of tension in society at the moment, and indeed in homes and families, I've thought about some of the things that have increased, and you can see them there on the screen. First of all, an increasing protective monitoring of children or focus on children. Secondly, for parents, with protectiveness comes increased defensiveness, very much a focus on the child, particularly if a child is struggling to any degree, and a defensive protective reactivity that can come across in relating to schools. An increase in blaming, and an increase in venting communities. All of these are reciprocal. They all feed into each other. So with reactivity comes finger pointing, looking at finding fault in maybe the school, maybe the teacher, maybe the other parent. And out of that reactivity comes venting communities. In family systems theory, we call this triangling, where parents are venting to other parents their blaming reactions, their confusions, their upsets, and of course, that's quite contagious in feeding a more negative and anxious community. Now, of course, this isn't happening across all parents and families, but I understand that schools are telling me, principals are telling me that there's a real increase in this with parents at the moment. And how does this translate into the children that you're caring for and educating? And I've got a few ideas there that you might consider. With increased anxious monitoring and focus on children, there is a delay. If somebody who's joined us, can you all please mute yourselves? That would be really helpful. Although I would appreciate your talking about afternoon tea time after a busy day at school. But can you see here that I'm presenting that there is a delayed maturity in children, whatever the developmental capacity of that child, with increased anxiety in the environment, there's always going to be a crowding of that child's breathing space, which leads to a delay in their development and their maturity. So you see kids who are more dependent on adults doing things for them that they developmentally would normally be able to do for themselves, or a delay in their self-regulation capacities when they get upset, when they're distressed. And out of that, you see highly sensitive, reactive kids, reduced personal responsibility, and a reduced capacity to cooperate with others, because anxious child focus makes the project the individual, and that reduces an environment where people learn to cooperate and draw on the benefits of community. And that has significant ramifications, doesn't it, for school communities? What I am reading in the newspapers regularly is this idea of increased anxiety in society and in families. So you can see what I'm presenting here. I wonder if this resonates for you in your schools. Families and their students getting more complex, and out of that, and this is one principal speaking, a very experienced principal, a considerable increase in parental anxiety, reflecting an increased anxiety in society as a whole. So this is the context of a more intense, anxious environment. And we all know that that makes it harder to develop strong, flourishing relationships. But here are some thoughts on ways that stronger and calmer partnerships could be built, and to really think about what part an educator, a school psychologist, a head of well-being, or a teacher, and perhaps there are parents here listening as well. What can you do to cut through the intensity to build stronger relationships between school and parents? And I've got a few ideas to present to you. The first is to connect well around the common goals that parents and schools have. And I don't think there'd be many parents out there who would not agree with this common goal of we care about building children's capacity, whatever their capacity, their coping skills, their learning skills. We want to facilitate every child's capacity to get the most out of education and the social benefits of school as possible. And it's probably really obvious to you all, but when there's a lot of tension in the air, connection tends to be around differences and problems rather than what we share in common and what we're working on together. So I think this is a useful reminder to have conversations that are really reinforcing, here's what we both care about. And then to start in talking to parents, this is particularly in parent-teacher conversations or conversations with a school counselor and a parent, to start with examples of the child's emerging capacities and strengths. They're always there, and it really helps to set the tone to start with observable positives that are noticed about the child in the school context. And this is a key one, to take the focus away from the parent, clarify how you're going to achieve the above. And there's a misgrammar here, but I hope you can follow it. How are you as an educator committed to facilitating the child's capacity building? So rather than focusing on the parent, what the parent is complaining about or asking about, to shift the focus to representing yourself and your goals. And I think that being able to speak to the importance of facilitating self-regulation is a key. I think parents can hear that a child who has the opportunity in the school environment as well as at home to work on managing their distress, their agitation, their wish for quick gratification, the capacity to manage that is so critical to children thriving as they move towards adolescence and adulthood. And I think parents can hear that, the value of children being able to grow their resilience, their coping capacities, rather than we are just talking about a child being happy. This idea that self-regulation can be learned in a school environment, and to speak positively to parents about the ways you're committed to that in the school environment and how much research there is to demonstrate that improved self-regulation is absolutely central to improved mental health outcomes for kids and indeed for us adults. Another little tip coming out of systems thinking is to ask parents questions about their observations, and notice that I'm suggesting don't get caught up in opinions about their child. Ask about what they observe of their child in the home and the school environment, not getting drawn into telling a parent what to do. And opinions are problematic because a lot of emotions get charged up in opinions. What do you think is going on for your child at school is an opinion. But saying, what do you observe of your child at home and when they are calmer compared to when they're agitated? And here's what I'm observing of your child at school when they seem to function at their best and when it's certain situations where they seem to struggle. So it's a collaborative sharing of observations rather than opinions. And I'd be interested in your comments and questions about that in a little while. And the last one is the value of clarifying expectations of each other. To be able to say, to ask the parent, what are your expectations of the school? To listen well, to ask questions, and then to be able to say, here's what I can fulfill of those expectations. Here's what I'm committed to. Here's what I agree with. And here's where I'm limited in my capacity to fulfill that expectation. And this is why. And to be able to ask the parent, do you have any questions about what the school is committed to, what we can provide, and how we can work together to support you? So some of you are already utilizing our school package of parent support. The whole idea of the Parent Hope Project school packages is so that schools can support anxious parents as part of their student wellbeing programs, not instead of, but as a parallel part of the offering, that students will do better if parents are a little calmer, a little less reactive and defensive. And so being able to provide parents with some ideas that help them regather their confidence and their clarity. We believe at Parent Hope Project that that is a really valuable offering for parents, for families, for students, and indeed the school community. So I'm very happy to take your questions about what's on offer. What I'm very excited to let you know is that we have just had published a companion to the 4-part parenting course that is part of the school's package. It's available online, Amazon, Booktopia, wherever books are sold. And it's an ebook as well as a paperback. So we've now got this guide, a companion program for parents while you're helping them with either the 4-part course or the introductory course. So that is exciting. And the contents of it, you can just have a quick little look at it here. Give you, for those of you who don't know about our 4-part parenting course that we train people in schools to run, these are the 4 topics, and they're covered in this companion book. The Chapter 1, Parent Energy Direction, Chapter 2, Connecting Without Worry, which is Course 2, Seminar 2. Seminar 3, Holding Limits Through What Is in a Parent's Control. And Chapter 4, Keeping a Long-Term View. And Patience for Getting Beyond the Push for a Quick Fix. And there are faith-based versions for all of those. So just wanted to let you know about the new resources. Also, the option for speaking at schools just to complement those courses. Whenever we do presentations at schools, we, unlike many presenters, we never talk to the kids because this is about empowering the adults to be able to provide an environment where children flourish. So we'll do parent sessions and also sessions to staff or school executive with lots of Q&A involved. So pulling this topic together, parent and school partnerships, how to strengthen them, I thought about what are just 3 simple guiding ideas for building strong partnerships. And the first one I thought of is the educator, the psychologist, works at managing self in a tense environment, our own management of our own levels of stress, reactivity, particularly in the presence of a very anxious parent. The work of staying calm and thoughtful is a vital contribution to a strong partnership, building a better partnership with an anxious parent. Stay connected. Again, that might sound so obvious, but it's predictable that the more difficult parents who tend to vent to other parents or go straight to the principal complaining about a member of staff or a teacher, these are the most anxious parents. We want to avoid them because they can be more difficult to communicate with. But staying connected is critical to find that common ground with them. We tend in any system to stay connected to the easy people, and that is a less valuable investment than a calm connection with the most anxious parents in the school. And to stay clear on here is what we as a school, or what I as a teacher or myself as a counselor, here's what I'm committed to bringing to my role as part of supporting what we both share in the goal of building the capacities of every child to the best of our capacity. Stay clear on here's what I can do and will do, but here's what I'm unable to do or I'm not willing to do because I don't see that that's the way I can bring the best of my expertise and my commitment to being a positive educator. I'm not willing to move into that territory. That clarity in a connected environment is just gold in this anxious society that we're in at the moment.